Or what's going on YouTube? Back at you with another video. Just had some watermelon. We're like 8 weeks I think into the cut now. But I still had some calories to spare, so like alright, we'll just have some watermelon. Keep it simple. We're gonna yap this video like usual. Just want to get a quick update on the cut. So down with 11 pounds, 4 inches off the waist. I'm only eating whole foods for like 48 days straight now. And it has been difficult, once you have those identity shifts, these things just become like breathing. It's like second nature. But I just want to talk about muscle building. Oh, it's the most important thing. Building muscle, why you should build muscle, and why it's a very, very, slow process. Because that's kind of my first thing. This is something I've, honestly, no, I'm actually over it now, but I still make slight tweaks to my program, but the workout split, it really ultimately doesn't matter. Even the 1, 2x to 3x frequency, because at the end of the day, hitting the gym is a lifestyle. So essentially, you have multiple decades to build muscle. So when you think about it from that far out, the split doesn't really matter, because ultimately, someone that's consistent on a bro split for 2 decades is going to beat someone that does PPL, but then they switch and they don't work out for a couple months and they start again. Consistency is going to be the most important lever in this whole journey. So because of that, the workout split, it really doesn't matter. Now, as we mention all the time, the actually most important thing is the diet, nutrition. That's 80-90% of the battle. And this is something, let me know, this will be the first question. Does anyone know anyone that they're eating all the right foods, but then they can't push themselves hard in the gym? I had an argument once with a coworker, but the more I think about it, I'm like, this person's cooked. Like, they're eating gummy worms. So I'm not even sure why. He does other things too, but like he's still a foodie, which I'm like, bro, but it's whatever. But if you're someone that's locked in on your diet, do you really have a hard time like pushing yourself intense in the gym? Because you should be able to do that way easier than other people. Because if you're actually eating like whole healthy foods and nothing else, I know you definitely prioritize sleep and other aspects of your health. So the fact that you couldn't push yourself in the gym when you're actually in the most optimal state to do it, it doesn't make sense. But yeah, that's not a rant, but yeah, I was like, that doesn't make sense. Because yeah, the diet is really the most important thing. That's gonna help you build muscle too, because you're gonna put on muscle if you train right. Eventually the weight's gonna get too easy, so you're gonna increase it. You don't have to think too much about it, but just know it's a really slow process. So rather than thinking, okay, I wanna just do all the correct inputs, and then eventually you'll get to a point where you're gonna detach from that outcome, and then you'll probably end up getting what you want a lot sooner, or it might be a lot later, but you don't ultimately care because you're doing all the right inputs. You're focused on the identity. Okay, let's do these things. As a consequence, you're muscular, you're lean, and all these things. But as someone that, and I still think it's important too. Like you can call me like a biohacker, or optimizing, testosterone, free test, all that stuff too. Because I was in that space. I mean, I still am, but you recognize that's, what do they call it, major and the minors. That stuff does matter, don't get me wrong, because a lot of foods are just cooked. Like if you're hitting a protein bar versus a whole egg, I mean there's a lot of science as to why you should eat the egg. But if you can't eat it, I mean the protein bar, I guess it's better than nothing, but all calories aren't the same. And that's the thing too, that's why you have to, with my journey specifically, it's interesting because I came from, oh, you're optimizing everything, oh, calories in, calories out don't matter. Which is true. The only thing that matters is really tracking. But tracking is just, okay, I just know how much I'm eating. But you're still going to eat whole, healthy foods. But if your hormones are ideal and you're eating that maintenance, I mean, it's going to be virtually impossible you don't, look really good. Because you're eating all the right foods and you're not eating too much food. You're eating how much food, your body needs. And when you cut out all the processed foods and the other bullshit foods, then you're really going to start moving and feeling different, Because that's the thing too. It's not that you're gonna feel normal, but the thing is, normal to you, essentially, you can operate without caffeine, stimulants. You don't get that dip, like 2, 3 p.m. But which is normal. Like you're not gonna feel. That's the thing too. I think a lot of people confuse. Like you'll feel very good. Don't get me wrong. Kind of day to day, I feel very good. Like I can push myself in the gym because my sleep and stuff is dialed in. But you're still gonna be human. You're not gonna feel like Superman, if that makes sense. But you're gonna be Superman compared to other people because other people, 4 or 3 hours of sleep, they can't focus, they can't concentrate. So when you could do all those things, because that's the base, that's normal, or that should be normal, but it's not because no one else does those things. That's what ultimately separates you. That's what makes you different because there's so much benefits to building muscle. We can talk about increasing metabolism, making more insulin sensitive, but a bunch of benefits. But ultimately, above all that, you got to work out because it's difficult. And the spirituals, it's going to teach you a lot, especially patience. The gym is going to teach you patience because for me, I would say like 5-6 years it really took for this stuff to kindly begin to really understand the importance of it. But you got to go through 4 years, maybe even longer for some people, of just trying, doing different things to arrive at the point I'm at now. And you can't skip that part too, because a lot of people, you always want the abs now. You want to be healthy, but you want to skip the deep work. And I do know some people like that because it's so common. It's just, you say you want all the things that someone gets when they delay gratification of identity, but your current actions don't reflect that at all. And I don't know, maybe it's something with younger dudes, but it's just a lot of, you can't, let me tell you, one of the worst things you can be is a foodie. I'm telling you, is because a foodie is basically, yeah, I'm okay with gluttony controlling me. That's basically what you're saying, honestly. Because I don't know any food, there might be foodies that only eat whole foods and they might cook a different recipe every day, but they're still eating whole processed foods. I mean, whole and processed foods. But every time I think of foodie, it's, oh, okay, they have the McDonald's app, so they have points and all this other bullshit. No, because if you need variety, you're going to lose. You're gonna lose. Because when you don't feel like eating, okay, boom, you got the same food in the fridge. You don't buy anything else. So that's all you can eat. It makes it very simple to maintain the routine. Literally, I don't really eat the food that my peeps cook, so I have to eat my food, or I starve. I'm not gonna starve because I know I have my protein goal. That's a non-negotiable. So it becomes very easy to make the habit, consistent and stable. When you just eat the foods you buy, you do your own grocery shopping, you cook your own foods. Don't really go out. That's number two. The reason your circus is smaller is because you can't be around people that only eat gooftivity, only eat goofy foods. So you just you end up not going out. So now you can cook, 7 days a week at home or whatever, or you meal prep. But I'm telling you, you're going to fail if you're around people that drink all the time, smoke. You're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. Maybe very few people probably would be okay in environments like that, but it's just not optimal. And that's another thing too. See, what people don't get is people you interact with are a reflection of your standards, especially the ones you interact with a lot more or hang out. So if you're okay, you want to get lean, right? So lean people, they definitely don't smoke. They definitely don't drink because that's just actually very counterintuitive to the whole journey. But the reason they don't do those things is because their mindset first is delayed gratification, not instant gratification. But the people you're around, they only instant gratification. All they care about is feeling good in the moment. That's it. They don't think about their future self. You're not going to align with those people anymore, which is why you guys grow apart. And something, it's crazy. The whole hate comes from below. And it's starting to make sense. But here's why people might think you're better. They're going to say, oh, you think you're better than us. It's because your very existence, I'm starting to understand it too. It kind of challenges them because they can't use the excuse because you guys probably grew up in the same, environment. You guys are similar. You might like this, they like that too. So you guys are very similar. So when you actually do the difficult things that they're not willing to do, you eat the same foods, you actually work out and do these things. You don't skip leg day. Your very existence, it threatens them. It threatens their ego. So it's easier for them, to attack you than to look at them and be like, okay, maybe that person's right. And see, when you get to that point, it becomes, you don't get mad anymore. You just come to terms with it. It's peaceful because oh yeah, this is dumb. Ultimately their standards are just too low. Because it doesn't matter what they say, all that matters is what they do. But what's so important, see, the perspective you need is, and this is something you have to, everyone knows you gotta eat healthy and do all these things. But when you interact, when you can talk to someone that does those things, that's what changes everything, Like I would not be at this point currently without just interacting with locked in lean people. Like you need a community like that, or you need a best friend or brother. You need someone that vibrates higher than that inspires and motivates you. Because now you have a third perspective. Okay, so I have my friend. They say they want to be in shape, but they don't work out. They want to go to Popeyes. They have points of McDonald's app, and I'm not doing that. And then the locked in people aren't doing that. So ultimately, it's just the locked in people and me. We're just out of alignment with the person that's not locked in, and that's okay. But if you really say you want those things, you're not gonna mesh with people that go to Popeyes every weekend, or eat out or whatever. You're just not ultimately, because that's a sign too. So you have to look at it as ultimately everything that happens to you is good, right? Because essentially everything's temporary. So that means the good and the bad. But essentially, when you start going through these things, this is a sign. Okay, things are starting to move. Like my standards are raising because my circle is getting smaller, or people are leaving or entering. That's the certain people will enter, although many will leave because you're going through these changes and they're staying constant. But you're really gonna not outgrow people. I say it's more so you're moving out of alignment with them, but I guess it's outgrowing them too because you decide, okay, we're actually going to delay gratification. We're going to pursue self mastery, become the best version of ourselves, conquer gluttony and lust. So most people, they're not willing to do that. And let me tell you, when your standards get higher, you're going to be less tolerant of bullshit. So now, you're going to tell someone something, they don't do it, okay. Eventually you check out, you're like, okay, they clearly don't want it, it's fine, And you won't care. It won't make you emotional because, the actions show they don't want it. But that's what's peaceful about the journey. Because ultimately, you can tell people what to do. Everyone says they want to be healthy. But only their actions will show. That's why I'm saying just look at what they're doing. Doesn't matter what they say, just look at what they're doing. If what they're saying matches what they're doing, then great. But in most cases, you're going to find it's not the case. Someone's going to say sorry and do the same thing over and over and over again. And now I have this awareness, it's very apparent with family. Like it's so easy through just looking at their actions and being very objective. Okay, yeah, this person, they're never going to change. They're never going to change. And a peace that comes with that, because now you don't have this. And I think it's just something, well, at least a woman in my family, but I'm sure most women too. It's just all the hope that, things are just going to work out, magically. Like you're going to have a complete 360. Like, no, it doesn't really work like that. Especially, like, really think about it, Plenty of people, they'll spend decades overweight. If what they were saying were true, people could have 180s in like 6 to 8 months, but that's not the case. People start for a couple months, then they stop. That's why this gym and nutrition shit is so important. And we keep emphasizing it in every video because people really downplay the importance of it. And I'm telling you, when you become aware, this is why I want you to just track what, even if you eat healthy, I want you to track everything. The oil, the butter, the eggs, measure everything out so you can see how much you're eating. That's not only for you, that's so you can understand other people. When you look at them, okay, she's 5'4", 180. I give my example too. I'm 6'2", 179. I'm like, hang on, so we're the same weight, but I'm a foot taller than you? And we'll be like, oh, she's thick, she looks nice, but then I'm like, no, hang on, like that's at risk for diabetes. Definitely already developing insulin resistance. These are just things you become aware of, and then you can't turn off because you also know, damn, so she's eating, for her to, that means she's eating, I know for me, right, my maintenance is like 3,000. She's probably more than me. That means she's eating more than 3,000, but then she's not working out, probably not getting her step goal. So you're like, damn, wait, hang on, that's crazy. That's a lot of food, because right now I'm eating 2,400. That means she's eating 3,000, but probably more because they're probably consistently eating. One meal might be 3,000, then they won't eat again until the next day. Then the next day will be 6,000. But ultimately, yeah, for that weight to stay like that, they gotta eat way more food. But they're also female, so they don't have that much muscle. So when you become aware of all those things, you're like, wow, okay, now you understand how cooked everyone is in ways that other people don't. Because cooked people, they don't understand how cooked they are. They don't get it, I'm not saying you have to be a biochemist, but when you understand, insulin sensitivity, fast storages, like this basic stuff like that, it makes you think, okay, wow, damn, people are actually really cooked. Or when like your waist size relative to your height and that number is good, so other people, you're like, wait, hang on, 30-inch waist, and they're like, damn, wait, hang on, that's crazy. Those are just things you think. It's not that you're better than them. Because a lot of people are like, oh, you think you're better? Like, no, it's not really about that. I just do the things. I just have higher standards for myself. So these are things I do. It's not contingent on anyone else, especially now. That's the biggest thing too. It's like you have to do it ultimately for you. Because that's the thing. That's the only way it's gonna be consistent. You can't eat this way for chicks, especially SR too. And that's what you have to do SR, because it's gonna show you like this is what you are. When you do SR, it's gonna show you what you are, because you can't LARP these things. You have to do them for you. You're not gonna wake up at 5 a.m. I'm telling you, consistently. If you're just going to the gym and pull chicks, it has to be in the pursuit of self-mastery, to be greater, find your purpose, find God, whatever. There's got to be something greater than you, literally, for you to do these things. And that's what people don't get. Most people, they won't even embark on the journey, Never forget that too. A lot of people, they won't even. It's just easier to be comfortable and stay where they are. There's no desire, for change. And I feel like there's an Aaron Yeager in all of us, that desire for freedom, best version of yourself, Everyone has that. But some people, they go through so much things, it's just suppressed, or they just don't want to have that part of them anymore. And it's sad, but whatever you're going through, you got to keep going. Because it's going to get better. Especially when you master yourself. But what I need people to stop doing, unfortunately, it's probably not going to happen, is the money, it doesn't matter. The money, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, getting lean, as it's taught me, I'm like, these things are way more important. These things need to be conquered first. Then the money will come. But if you have the money and you're a victim to lust, and you lose to gluttony every day, what is the point? That's what people don't go, what is the point? If you get the money, but you lose daily to your worldly desires, what is the point? What is the point? And it's probably because, YouTube, Instagram too, and people's breath and everything too. Let's talk about like dopamine real quick. Like, everyone's brain is so fried. I promise you, if you put someone, you see, I'd be fine. You can put me in a white room, and I'll just meditate for 30 minutes. But if you put someone in those white rooms for after 5 minutes with no phone, they're gonna go batshit crazy. That's how cooked the average person, man, is. I'm telling you. And the thing is, the awareness, like, it's a blessing, but it's also a curse, because now, when you see certain people, you might have a good friend, and you're like, damn, wait, hang on, they're actually objectively like very overweight, because you use yourself as a base, right? So then you're like, okay, damn. You're like, oh shit. Sometimes you wish like, damn, I wish it'd be better not to know that. But see, when you do know it, you can't turn it off. So, but this makes you want to help people more. That's the curse that comes from it too. Because you'll have people that drink and smoke, but they have no idea the damage it does to them. They don't understand. You see, I'm a biohacker, right? So REM sleep, all that. People understand how that shit fucks up your REM sleep, how REM sleep is actually important. And see, I track this stuff, so I know. Like, if that REM sleep number is lower, you won't feel as well rested. But if it's like 2 or 3 hours, you're gonna feel very good. But people, they don't track their sleep, much less care. They're only probably getting 4 or 5 hours. So these things they're not even aware of. They don't know. That's a lot of things too. A lot of people just don't know how cooked the cereals are, and a bunch of other things. This is why you have to seek the answers out. Desire to be better. Because when your identity becomes improving yourself and getting, especially with your health, you're gonna naturally figure out all these things because they're out there. When you're very objective, you just look. You're gonna see. It's easy for me to think about too. Okay, ultimately, what's gonna be better, buying from Walmart or buying from a local farmer? And everyone's gonna say, "Oh, it's expensive to be healthy." If you ate the way I did, especially if you're a female, I'm telling you, you would not spend much money. You wouldn't. I'm telling you, especially if you remember, I'm not eating out, so I'm saving them more because I'm not going out to eat. And if you do, it's a nice restaurant, once in a while. But that's it. It's got to eat the same meals every day. Keep it simple. Don't deviate, because when you don't deviate for a long enough period of time, that's going to become your identity. But then it'll be effortless, and you're going to recognize what your superpower is. But for me, I know not my surprise. I have to die stuff. Okay, the way I eat, I know very few people can do this, so let me double down on that. Let me leverage that, because I'll feel better, so I'll be able to move better in the gym, get PRs faster, look better, all these benefits too. Peak mental clarity. That's my advantage because I could do that. So let me double down on that, you know. But you have to make the nutrition part your advantage because that's really where, you know, the winners and losers are born from. You know, that's what separates the great from the exceptional. So the, you know, 1% is going to be the diet and the nutrition part. I'm telling you, don't sleep on that part. Yeah, guys, another video. I think we're at 20 minutes. I honestly don't know, but keep it simple. Just keep doing the right thing. Remember, it's supposed to be boring. It's not supposed to be fun to entertain all the time. Your brain is fried. You have to unfry your brain. You got to learn to sit in the boredom, sit in the silence. That's very important too. But keep it simple. Eat the same meals. Make sure you get your workout in. Get your steps in. Simple, simple, simple. And do it every day. So stay locked. Stay blessed. Upload tomorrow, of course, and the day after that. Let's go. Let's get it.